Hello and welcome to another episode of Man About a Dog Movie Podcast. Tonight we are doing something special. We don't have the usual input from Craig Lambo Lambert, but we have a special guest, the co-creator of the worldgeeklynews.com website, Paul Childs. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good.
Jolly good.
You started that website. You posted something on a joint feed that we were both on, and when I read it, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get in on that.
Oh, yeah.
I have looked back since. I've really enjoyed doing it. Like you've written for other places before, haven't you?
Yeah. Den of Geek is the main place where I've written for, which has been really cool. And I'm about to start writing for Film Stories magazine. So,
I saw that the other day. Yeah, I listened to that podcast. Well.
Quite excited about that. So get on Kickstarter. So I'm going to put an advert in. Get on Kickstarter and back Film Stories. It's going to be awesome. And I've got a tiny bit in it which will be rubbish, but the rest of the magazine will be awesome.
Awesome, that's great. No, yeah, do it. I want to do more of this sort of stuff. Let me get comfortable. More of this sort of stuff. I'm enjoying writing for the website, even though I've missed 2 deadlines this weekend with the Halloween countdown. But yeah, no, it's really good, and I'm kind of glad that you got us onto it and all that. And we're gonna have KJ on as well at some point.
That'd be good with his bow tie. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've watched a couple of his videos. He's got a couple of videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So tonight is going to be a special episode. Basically, because we're a few days out from Halloween. We've been doing the Halloween countdown. You've been watching 31 films, haven't you?
I have. Yeah. It's starting to
go on.
I was just going to say, it's starting to drive my wife a little bit crazy.
Yeah. If you look at the videos I put on of Mrs. Movie Geek, sometimes she looks a little bit stressed out. You know? But she married me, so. But yeah, we're going through them. We've done different things. I think we did crossover with a couple of films. I think you did Tales from the Crypt as well.
Yeah, Demon Knights.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. But tonight, I think we're just going to basically list maybe like 5 films of our favourites or something like that. We have got a list. You've shown me a list. I've got a list, a piece of paper with really scraggly writing on. But I thought, because we arranged to do this after Doctor Who had aired, should we have a little chat about that?
I think that would be a fine idea.
What do you think of the episode?
I think I said this to my wife as we were watching it, and I said it on a group on Facebook as well. I think in 20 years' time, this is going to be an episode where like 30-year-olds all remember hiding behind the sofa and saying that was a thing that messed them up when they were kids.
Yeah. My son, one of my sons was like, "Oh, that's gross." So I think it'll be one of those ones that is locked in the memory. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was going to have more links to, say, Pertwee era.
Yeah, because that's how he died, wasn't
it? Yeah. And I thought it would have been quite interesting for her to say something like, "I've not liked these since such and such," but they don't seem to be doing much of that in this series. Like, looking back, I suppose Stephen Moffat went over the top with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think Chris Chibnall wants to sort of set it apart as his own and soft reboot it for new watchers as well.
Yeah, it is. It is very new. But I've got to say though, the last few episodes I'm really enjoying. Everything's just been top notch. Although my son did say, I think it was on the same feed that you're talking about. My son said, "Oh, we didn't see that guy get eaten by a spider." the guy, the Trump guy.
Yeah, it reminded me of a little bit of the Christmas special, with the Titanic.
Yes.
And they ended up with the rich guy was one of the ones that lived at the end.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that was.
he didn't turn his life around, and he didn't save the day, and he didn't become nice by the end. He was still a nasty piece of work by the end of that. And the doctor just said, sometimes the bad people live.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. I suppose it's going forward. What do you reckon of the series then so far?
I'm really enjoying it, particularly the look of it. I think the cinematography is just out of this world. It's so clear, and it's just great to watch.
I enjoyed the going through the time vortex. The way they've reimagined that looks really cool, and it sort of reminded me of the Bill and Ted timelines.
Yeah.
Where it went into that big bit, and there was loads of little holes where the TARDIS can go. It was quite interesting way of looking at it, and I enjoyed it. It looks great, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I really, really like the look of it, and the special effects have been great. The spiders were so realistic; it made me wonder if they'd actually used real giant spiders for a moment.
Yeah. I hope not. I couldn't understand that. Too bloody scary. Yeah, they did look really photorealistic. I'm really happy with it, and I'm so glad that it's got better.
I just can't wait till the Christmas special, because I've just booked a meal out with my wife on Christmas Day in a restaurant without any family or friends, just the two of us, and we're going to go out for dinner, come home, watch a cheesy movie like E.T. or The Wizard of Oz, and then watch Doctor Who, because my parents hate Doctor Who, and we never get to watch it at Christmas normally. So
usually afterwards, is it? Yeah, we make sure that we watch it, or we record it and watch it later on. But yeah, okay. Well, I don't have any news this week. I've just been really under the. We've just been busy and everything. But yeah, shall we start with a horror film? What is one of your favourite horror films?
one of my favourites is, and I know you talked about this a couple of weeks ago and you weren't massively impressed, so I apologise. But one of my favourites, it's a mid-80s vampire movie. It's about when I started to get into horror films at first, and it's a tie. I've put this as one entry: The Lost Boys / Fright Night.
Okay. Yeah, I like Lost Boys. I don't mind Fright Night. I just think it's one of those things. I think I said that my liking of a film goes up and down. Sometimes I'm against it. Other times I think, yeah, it was all right that, and I've watched them again. So I don't know. But yeah, what is it that you really like about Fright Night?
Well, I don't know if you saw an article on Den of the Geek last week. It was, "What's your comfort film?" And they were inviting people just to say, when you're feeling bad, what do you put on that just makes you feel great? Fright Night is that. It's just exciting, it's funny, it's silly, it's scary when it has to be. The villain is just so compelling. I really like Dandridge as a villain. He's one of my favourite film characters. And yeah, it's like a roller coaster ride that you want to go on over and over again. That's
Yeah,
Fright Night for me.
it is good. Like I say, I'll probably end up watching it again at some point and having a completely different opinion of it. So, but yeah, you mentioned Lost Boys as well. That's one I haven't watched recently, probably in the last few years. But I really enjoy that. That's a great film. It's I think one of the things that stood out for me was where the food changes and he's eating maggots.
Yeah.
It was horrible, and it frightened me when I was younger. But yeah,
I remember when it first came out. I saw the trailer for it. I was watching something else at the cinema. I mean, I was like 12 or 13 when it first came out, and I thought, that looks terrifying. That just looks like the most scary thing I've ever seen. So I avoided it for about 2 years. And then I was old enough to hire it. I was 15 by then, a few years later. And I thought, you know what? Everyone keeps going on about this. I'm going to get it. And I sat in my bedroom watching this on my video recorder, and just all the way through it, kicking myself for not having seen it sooner.
yeah, it's great, entertaining. And they bring in there's a lot of like vampire lore in it as well, isn't there? The inviting into the house, and if you kill the head vampire, the others either revert back, and things like that. I think have been lost with vampire films.
Yeah,
Like 30 Days of Night was one we watched recently, and that just throws everything out the window. Really, it's just like animals. They can get in anywhere, and but they don't like sunlight. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, good vampire films then.
For me, I'm trying to think what else. The Lost Boys was one of the very first vampire films that showed sort of cool people, teenagers, dressing in the modern day. Well, I say fashions, modern day fashion. I don't remember anybody dressing like that when I was growing up. But yeah, it was one of the very first vampire films to show fashionable people, ordinary people being vampires. They, before that they were all like the Count with his long cape and
Yeah,
his suave and sophisticated manner. But this was just motorcycle riding teenagers,
yeah,
which was just right up my street, and it made me want to be a vampire. I have to
yeah.
admit.
We all seem to go through that phase because I think mine was when Buffy was prominent on TV. I went through a phase of bleaching my hair white and wearing a long leather jacket.
Oh,
And Spike.
that goes back to David from the Lost Boys then as well.
It does. I was going to say it's sort of like a bit of a carryover in Buffy the Vampire Slayer with the punk Spike. But yeah, he was my favourite vampire anyway.
Do you know what? I love the episode where you see a flashback to the 70s and he's clearly ripping off Billy Idol, and that's where he got his look from.
Yeah, yeah. It was yeah, because I bleached my hair a lot and it was white, and I got a really a nice compliment from someone. I was working behind a bar at the time, and this guy was like, "Right, Billy." I was like, "What? Right, Billy Idol?" I was like, "Yes, that's cool." Later, I found out it's not cool.
Billy Idol's great,
Yeah,
especially in The Wedding Singer. Although, word of advice, his Christmas album is not cool. Seriously, it's one of the cheesiest things. It's one of the cheesiest things I've ever heard in my life.
Brilliant. All right. Have I got any vampire films on my list? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I was going to try and link it, but yeah, one of mine is 28 Days Later, and I think it's. Do you class it as a zombie film?
Kind of.
Kind of, because they're not dead, are they? But it it breathed life into it. It probably kicked off zombie genre in the early 2000s, and just the way Danny Boyle made that film was amazing. I think it was all digital cameras,
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah.
and the scene, the opening scene with him waking up and London is deserted, just amazing. And there's been many a time that I've woken up at 3:30 in the morning during summer holidays, gone out with my camera and filmed me town just desolate.
They had to do that for the film because they
Yeah.
wanted to get permission to shut London down, but they said, "No, it's too expensive. It's too busy. Too much relying on, the traffic. So you can do it at 4 a.m. or not at all."
But I think they got the best out of it, and those scenes, those shots are just perfect. It's just desolate, and it's great. And then if you watch the unedited stuff, you can see that they're doing a bit in the corner here, but when they zoom out, all the traffic is running up the side, and it's all still really busy, but it just looks dead where they're filming. It's really.
Have you ever
But
seen? Have you ever seen Zombie Flesh Eaters?
It sounds very familiar. I don't think I have though.
It's a late 70s Lucio Fulci, Italian director. It ends with the zombies have won and they've started to take over America. And there's a scene where they're all walking over the Brooklyn Bridge, but you can see they didn't get permission to film at all. It was filmed totally illegally. You can see all, I don't know if you've been to New York, but if you walk over the Brooklyn Bridge, the footpath's at the top and the traffic's beneath it. And all these zombies are invading New York, but all the traffic is just going about its business as usual beneath.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look now. I'll find it. I'm just writing it down. and I'll see if I've seen it. I probably haven't seen it. 'Cause I'm not. I call myself the ultimate movie geek. I'm really not. I think it's more of a joke than anything. Yeah. So I just everything about that film, even up to like Christopher Eccleston's character, he's just it's brilliant. I love it, and it still gives me the creeps. And everything about it just works, including the music. And I've still got it in a CD in my car, and every now and then it goes on because it's just such a great piece of music.
Yeah, well, the piece in the house, it's been reused again in a few films since.
Yeah. There's a couple of bits, and like my brother's he's a journalist, and for his dissertation he used some of the music because he did. You know where I live, it's up in the northwest, and a few years ago there was a Cochrane tragedy. A load of Chinese cocklers
Yeah, I
were
remember it.
killed on the bay, and because we live here, we drove around, and he ended up doing a documentary about that, which was supposed to get picked up by Channel 4, but it didn't. Someone else got it. But he used the music from 28 Days Later in it, and it just made the piece really, really emotional, and it was good. But no one will ever see it, unfortunately. So we ramble in this podcast.
Oh no, rambling's good. I always remember the scene where they leave London and they get in Brendan Gleeson's taxi and they head for the north because they've heard this transmission, and they go past all this beautiful scenery that is totally not up the M6 at all.
No, it's not.
Including at the time there were like these big like electricity generating windmills that you see at the side of the road, which I believe that where they filmed that was way past Manchester. It's like somewhere nearer to you, actually, somewhere up in the Lake District.
That sounds about right.
But I drove down to my parents earlier this week. They live down the M6 from me, and there actually are big windmills at the side of the motorway now. It just made me think, 28 days later.
Well, it's down to animal rights activists to release those rage-infected monkeys. So we'll see. All right. 28 Days Later, great film. I love it. What's your next?
I was just going to say, I think 28 Days Later paved the way for people accepting running zombies as well.
I suppose, yeah. What did we have after that? Was it
Dawn of the Dead remake?
Which was that Zack Snyder?
It was.
Did he like that? I've only seen it once, and I think it's because I don't like running zombies. And when I say I don't like it, they scare the crap out of me.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, and sort of late 70s, early 80s, zombies were the scary monster. They were they were only in indie films. They were really gory. All the Italian directors were like having all these special effects extravaganzas with eyeballs popping out and stuff. And zombies were like proper terrifying. So yeah, the idea of them running,
it's just
scares the crap out of
me. Right, isn't it? It's like having giant spiders. No, just I've only watched it once. I couldn't watch it again. It's just it's quite a nice little remake. Dawn of the Dead. It's scary, and it just put me off zombies for life. I haven't seen Train to Busan. I've been told to watch it. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. It's another one that I almost put it on my list for this year.
Yeah.
It was really close.
Yeah, it might have to be a next year thing, or we just watch it sometime. But I've been told to watch that. I don't know if they're running zombies in that, but I'll find out. I think you're right about it kicking off like running zombies and all that. But so what you mentioned another one before we started, and I think this is the TV film, which was like a mockumentary. Is it Ghostwatch?
Oh yeah, Ghostwatch.
That frightened me as a kid as well, and I actually thought it was real.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Did you watch it when it was first on?
I think I watched it live.
Yeah,
I'm just looking up when it was because
it was Halloween night, 1992.
92, yeah. I think it was, yeah. I think I watched it live, and I was only 7 at that point?
Well, I was 17. I was in upper six, and it scared the living daylights out of me. I actually turned it off before the end, and then watched it
Right?
late. I recorded it and watched it, but I watched it again later after all the talk at school because I really did think it was real, and it was starting to creep me out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. It did me, and I think it's the ending, isn't it, that that sort of gave it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed the ending that kind of just went really over the top.
I've got it's it wasn't it based on the Enfield Poltergeist and all that as well.
Yeah, I think there's elements of that in it, definitely. I mean, Stephen Volk, who wrote it, it was one of his really early things. He's done a few more films now, but
Yeah,
he first wrote it based on all that kind of thing, Enfield, Borley Rectory, all those sort of famous hauntings.
yeah, it's really good. It was proper. They don't do stuff like that much anymore, do they?
Well, the reason that they don't do stuff like that anymore is because of Ghostwatch. It's just the BBC really got afraid of mockumentaries and sort of tricking the public after that for a long time. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, yeah. It frightened so many people. I think one person actually went out and killed himself after seeing it. They were so afraid they thought ghosts were real and they couldn't cope with it. That's why the BBC sort of disowned it.
Oh, I didn't know that happened.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that was one of the things that got talked about in the schoolyard a few days later when it happened.
TV show that makes you police off.
Which, as sad as it is, it does add to its legend and it does make people want to see it. So, like,
Yeah.
Films like that, like Cannibal Holocaust, where people arguing, is it real? Were people really killed? You know, all the teenagers are like, oh, I've got to watch that.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
But yeah, I watched it again about 3 weeks ago, and it's still. I mean, it's dated. It's 90s. It's in 4:3, so it instantly stands out on your TV. And it's TV stars of the time: Craig Charles, Sarah Green, Mike Smith, Parky, and the acting. When you know the acting's terrible.
Is it? I think I've only seen this when I saw it live, and I might have to look back at it and go back and see it.
But it's still, even like 25 years later, it's still really well done. It just looks great, and it's still scary.
Yeah, I might have to. I'll have to see. I'll see if the trusty DVD player has it somewhere. I'll find it. I was just reading then. It's the first TV show that has given PTSD.
Yes, right.
I'm only on Wikipedia, so I don't. Mental.
Yeah, I know that because I looked it up on Wikipedia about 3 weeks ago and I watched it again.
Brilliant. Oh, good. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'll have a look, see if I can find it.
Great. And they've created you've got all your classic villains like Ghostface and Jason and Freddy and all them. I think Mr. Pipes, which is the name of the ghost in it, is a proper creepy bad guy as well. I mean, I mentioned him in an article in the same sentence as those other famous villains, kind of hoping that some geeks who love Ghostwatch would pick up on it, but also because he scares me.
He scares you, yeah. That's it, isn't it? And I suppose that's what horror's good, isn't it? It goes to it makes you scared, and it makes you pick out the ones that really scare you. Like I have a real problem with the Grudge and the ghosts in that. I can't stand it, and the noise that they make, the death rattle. My missus, she if my leg's hanging out of the bed and she sees it, she will start making that noise just to scare me, and I will get as far into the middle of the bed as I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to vampires as I was before, and it goes back to a lot to sort of scary stuff when you're a kid as well. But I can't sleep in a room with the curtains open. Still, it must be 30 years since I saw Salem's Lot and the first time, and I still can't do it. It scares the living daylights out of me. If I stay in a hotel or something where there are no curtains, I have to have my back to the window.
Bloody hell.
And I lie there awake, just waiting for the scratching of nails down the glass.
Excellent. I like. I should maybe name this the Scaredy Cat podcast. Oh, we're just telling each other's fears. Yeah. So maybe from Ghostwatch, I will then go to my next film, which is it's on the list. I know what I'm trying to say. It's The Conjuring 2, which I watched this year for the Halloween countdown. And I think I find it better than the first one, probably because it's set in England and got more of an association to it than say Amityville, and based on the Enfield haunting, it just frightens me. I know it's very very Hollywoodized and boosted up, but it's hearing all the real footage. It's frigging frightening, and it's a film that I really enjoy and I will go back to a lot. And I think I don't know.
Yeah,
Did
I've
I
not
just
seen that yet.
Have
I've
you
seen
not?
the
Have you
first
not?
one.
Oh, well, that's hard to talk about. Yeah, no, it's funny as well because we watched. What did we watch the other night? Amityville 2, and I let the credits roll, and I saw Spirit. Oh, something advisors or spiritual advisors was Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they actually worked on the Amityville film.
Wow.
So it's just their impact on say films and horror films and all that sort of stuff is quite big, and I do like the fact that these films are showing different places where they've worked. I think Mrs. Movie Geek said in the review that they were only there one night, but in this film shows that they're there for a fair few nights. But still, I think it is a really really entertaining film, and the scares are just they drag everything out so well, and it just goes and scares you just by not doing much, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I'll move on because if you haven't seen that, we'll move on to the next one. What do you want to talk about now?
Something a bit funnier. I chose Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I know you've not seen this one. I think I
No.
can talk about this a bit without spoiling it for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I often mention this in the same sentence as Scream,
Yeah.
Waxwork, Cabin in the Woods. You know, all
Yeah.
films that take all the well-known horror tropes and stereotypes and then turn them on their head and make you think about it.
Yeah.
Because the full title Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I think it's on Netflix, so certainly in the UK.
I may have to have a look at that as well. I'm writing it down now.
But last year on
I've seen the clip of it. It's the bit with the wood grinder or whatever it's
the
called.
wood chipper, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This was on my 31 days last year, and it was one of the only ones that my wife said she really enjoyed and she would watch again.
Good. Yeah, I think I'll have a watch of that as well.
Yeah, but yeah. So what you've got is, on face value, a slasher film about a bunch of teenagers who go into the woods and they get terrorized by a couple of hillbillies living in a cabin in the woods. What you've really got, believe it or not, is a really sweet-natured romantic comedy. That's also a comedy of misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving anything away because this is right at the start. The two hillbillies are just in the woods to do up this cabin that they've bought. It's all ramshackle. They've just bought it. They're going to turn it into like a fishing lodge where they can go in the summer. And the teenagers who are camping in their backyard just get the wrong end of the stick and think, oh no, we need to take them out before they take us out. And it just leads to some very unfortunate accidents, shall we say.
That's it, innit? It's kind of like the Scream 2 storyline where they're trying to blame, well, not trying to blame movies, but they've watched too many films and going out of their way to survive.
Well, that's exactly it. In fact, Tucker and Dale is partly all based around a story they tell around the campfire, a scary story about a killer in the woods. And so they're all freaked out, and then they see these two hillbillies, and it all kicks off.
Right. It's on my list. We'll watch it.
It's got Alan Tudyk from
Yeah.
from Firefly and A Knight's Tale and all those films. And my wife really likes him, so that helps as well. And it's just really funny, and the two hillbillies are really nice guys. You know, they wouldn't hurt a fly.
Right. Oh God. What's my next one? I'm actually going down the list that I've written. I'll say The Shining. That for me is one that I love, and I know it's. I've read the book. Well, I listened to the book last year, but it's just such a good film. It's mental and it is scary, and I just think it's hard not to love.
Oh yeah, I first saw it. Oh, it'd probably be early 90s. My parents had gone out. I think they'd taken my little brothers to the pantomime or something. So it was a dark night already because it was winter.
Right.
And my friend Mez came round and said, I brought a video with me. Do you want to watch it? And I was like, yeah, okay, what is it? And he said, The Shining. And I was like, are you sure about this? And he's like, yeah, it'll be awesome. Just the two of us in the house. It'll be amazing. So we watched it, and we didn't move from our seats. You know, we didn't get up to get any drinks. We didn't go to the toilet. We were just like terrified to move. And then my mum and dad got home and said, right, okay, off you go then, Mez. Walk home. And he's like, do I have to? And yeah, he just didn't want to go. It was funny.
No, it is. It's so well made, and Jack Nicholson, he acts his socks off, doesn't he? He's just mental.
Yeah.
I think one of the shots that stands out for me is when they're running through the maze, and then the maze is the mock maze in the and Jack's standing over it. It's so good. If I could make a film that was even like 10% that, I'd be happy.
I know Stephen King has issues with it, but I think, it's not really the same. It's similar. There are similarities, but it goes in a different direction, doesn't it, to the book? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as a film in its own right, it's just really tension building. And
it's just so, and the fact that they built the sets to have like the office in the middle, and the building going further down, and then there's a window in that office. It is amazing itself, and they went to that level of set building is just immense.
I know. Yeah, I mean, they deliberately made mistakes for people to spot that you might not notice right away, but your brain's going, there's something not quite right about this. And those were all deliberate, like you say, the window, even though the room was in the middle of the hotel.
Yeah, it's mental. And then you've got the way Kubrick treated Shelley Duvall, and her hair was like coming out and all that. It's not great, is it?
No, it makes me think of The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock, and it was Tippi Hedren, and he was throwing actual birds at her.
Yeah,
live flapping birds.
Yeah, there was. We were talking about that last night. No, today, because we watched Psycho 2, and he was a bit. He was obsessed with her, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know the full story.
There's a film about it, isn't there?
Yeah, I was going to say, we watched the film about it. It was, I think the BBC made it. Did it have Toby Jones in it?
Toby Jones, yeah. I haven't seen it, but it came out at the same time as the one with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, there were two at the same time, which was weird.
Yeah. In fact, I think Toby Jones has done 2 biopics that were like the lesser film, and then there was a bigger film as well. I think he did Capote as well at the same time.
Right, yeah.
As
the fella from Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say the guy from The Hunger Games, but that's like a real disservice to his distinguished career until he died. That I remember him most from The Hunger Games.
Could have said Mission Impossible.
And he was in that one with Al Pacino as well, wasn't it, with the blind guy?
I don't know. I
I'm
can't
going to have to
remember.
look that up now. It's going to drive me mad if I don't.
Do it. Look up. I don't. You know, we when we usually record this, we go off on a tangent, and it's I don't even know the pin number to my son's pad. Oh, I'm gonna lock us out. I don't know. Yeah, but Shining for me is one of my top. It's one of my favorite ones. And this list, I know I said like top 5, like favorite horror films or scary films. It's not, because like I said before about me going up and down with films. Nothing is ever me top. I think there's only one set of films that will always be my favorite, and that's like the Indiana Jones trilogy. But everything else can jump up and down. So, and I found it really hard to pick these films. It's that like, because I think we arranged to do this a week ago, and then everything kept on getting in the way, and I still didn't have a list until earlier today. So it's just really hard.
Well, yeah, I had a list in my head and I completely forgot it. And I was sat watching Doctor Who and I kept thinking, what should I talk about? And all I could think of was Eight-Legged Freaks, Arachnophobia, Them. No. It was Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino, by the way, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Sorry.
Ah, right. Yeah. I think that was on the other night. Sure, it was. I'm sure I saw it. What's your next film?
Halloween 3.
Oh yeah, you said. Now again, I haven't seen this, but I know that it's the departure trying to make it a not saga films.
Yeah, he
I don't
wanted
know.
to move away from Michael Myers and have more of an anthology with the Halloween banner across the top.
Yeah.
So, one year he'd have a witchcraft story, which is what Halloween 3 was. Another year he might have an alien invasion story, a bit like, almost like the Cloverfields are doing now.
Yeah. Are they still doing any more?
I don't know. I've not seen the new one, the Cloverfield Paradox.
You know what? I have. It's one I've seen, and I didn't mind it. It seemed a bit jarring in places, but it wasn't that bad. I don't really understand why they moved it to Netflix, because I think it wouldn't have done too badly. Although the reviews were bad, weren't they? But
They were, but reviews. Yeah.
no reviewers.
Who do they think they are? These film writers, eh?
No, I'm gonna. This will be on the list next year, Halloween, because this year's Halloween film is going to be Halloween 2. It should have really been the new Halloween, seeing as Halloween 2 is now crossed off the list again. But next year will be Halloween 3, so I'll see what that's like then.
Okay.
Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Yeah, well, a bit of a personal story. There's a theme running through a lot of these in that my parents let me watch this as a kid, like Salem's Lot that I mentioned before, and Ghostwatch, and it just scared the living daylights out of me. I was terrified on watching Halloween 3. I must have been 11. I'd recorded it, or my parents had recorded it, and I was off sick that day. And I thought, you know what, I'll watch that Halloween film that I recorded. And I watched it, and I was just terrified and disgusted by it. Because it's pretty gruesome in places. Some really horrible things happen. It's quite nasty. And especially to an 11-year-old. And then later that day, I was kind of feeling better, and I wanted to go out to the bonfire display. But then I watched Halloween 3, and it made me feel sick, like physically sick. It made me feel sick again, and I couldn't eat my dinner. And my mum said, "Oh, if you're not eating your dinner, you're not well enough to go to the bonfire and the fireworks. So sorry, but I did get another day off school out of it. So win some, you lose some."
That's cool. I don't have any stories like that. I think the one story, and I might actually I might change my last choice, because I was going to talk about Quiet Place, because that was this year's film, and I really enjoyed it. It was scary. It was really well made for something that it it wasn't supposed to be that good, or if you know what I mean. But I might change it to Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, Poltergeist.
Because it's one of those films that the first time I watched it, I don't know how old I was. I was living. It was before I was 8 because my sister wasn't born, and it was Halloween, and we'd just been trick or treating. I think if we did it then, I can't remember, but we'd done bobbing for apples, and I was asking my mum, saying, "Come on, show us a scary film. Show us a scary film." So I don't know if this is quite mean of my mum, but she then showed us Poltergeist, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then you've got it's quite a funny film in places,
Yeah.
but then you can set like the scene in front of the mirror,
Oh
which
yeah, where he tears his face off. Ugh.
yeah, bloody scary, and you've got the thing that comes out of the wardrobe.
Yep.
And after that, I couldn't sleep for days because it was frightening. And I had a wardrobe in my room that frightened the crap out of me.
Also, oh, that's another thing that scares me. Apart from no curtains, is if there's a tree by the window that's sort of tapping on the window.
I'll show you. Hang on. This isn't going to be good for podcast viewers, but if we look out of my window, you might be able to see it. You see that tree?
Oh, does it tap on the window in the wind?
Not anymore. We cut the leaves with
Good.
the branches. But yeah,
Yeah.
it did at one point. So yeah,
Poltergeist is Poltergeist is one of the ones that my parents wouldn't let me watch. They thought it would be too scary for me. I mean, they let me
yeah.
watch Halloween 3 and Salem's Lot and the 1979 Dracula, which is utterly terrifying. But yeah, Poltergeist was too much. They wouldn't let me until I was much older.
It's crazy how different films evoke different feelings, and yeah, Poltergeist for me is one of those that yeah I can handle it now, but I still have those memories of how I felt back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as an adult, when you watch it, you can just see Spielberg all over it, can't you?
Yes, you can, and the rumor is that he directed it or
Yeah.
ghost directed it, but I don't know. Does that take away from Toby Hooper?
I'd say that he definitely did the scary stuff, the really scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a good film. It's Poltergeist 2 on the 30th this year, which also scared me. I think the preacher guy, he was scary in himself.
Yeah, that's the one in the tower block, isn't it?
No, that's Poltergeist 3.
Oh right.
Poltergeist 2 is where they're staying at the grandmother's house.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the preacher keeps coming round and he sings his song. I can't remember what the song is. But he's bloody scary. Okay, I'm out now. That's my list.
I could talk about scary films all day, but yeah. My next one was a relatively new one, about 2 or 3 years ago, as folk horror was starting to really become popular again. The Witch.
The Witch, yes. I haven't seen it. I know this. It's been spoiled for me. So yeah, and I know about that. Yeah. So what is it that you really like about it?
I just love the darkness of it. There's very little actually happens in it apart from they all sit around a table for an hour and a half accusing each other of being witches, which may or may not be true. And there's a goat who's quite a scary goat.
He's called something, isn't he?
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip. That's it. Yeah. I don't know why I know this. I can't remember why it was spoiled for me.
Oh, he's a famous goat. He's going places, that goat.
Directly to the plate.
We were at.
I'm not finished as well.
We went to a farm, one of these family farms, where you can stroke animals and stuff, with my wife and her parents, mum and her father-in-law. No, my father-in-law. No, her stepfather. You get the point.
Yeah.
My wife, her mum, and her husband. Anyway, we went to this farm in Yorkshire, and it had animals you could touch and look at. And there was this goat, and he was just looking at me. I was like, oh God, Black Phillip's looking at me, and he looked just like Black Phillip in the film, and he wouldn't take his eyes off me, and it was freaking me out.
I think I messaged you because I recently I'm going to say read it, I was on Audible, but I read Pet Cemetery,
Yeah.
and I think I messaged you. It was like I was walking down the street, and this cat was meowing at me, and he was just staring at me as I walked by, and it really was off-putting. And I thought, oh, Christ, am I going to die now? Yeah.
Actually, you know what? A similar thing happened to me the other day. I was walking into town with my parents and my wife, and this cat just walked into the middle of the path and just sat there and wouldn't move for us.
It can take over. We've recently lost a cat. He just disappeared. Can't find him. I'm assuming he'll come back and try and get us. I don't know. Yeah. So, is there anything else you wanna talk about, mention, or anything? Any other films? Anything you're gonna see?
Well,
Or...
not horror related, but while I was down staying with my parents, we went to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, is it any good?
Well, I really, really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
love the music of Queen. I know a bit about their history, not to the geeky point where I can start complaining that why has he got
Right.
a moustache? Then, you know, some people are saying, oh, he didn't grow a moustache in 1980. He didn't grow it till 1980, whatever. But that didn't take away from the film from me, the chronological order of his moustache. It wasn't
Yeah.
important. I just really enjoyed it. The songs are great. The drama's great. A lot of it's probably sort of dramatic license for the film,
Yeah.
but you know, just seeing them in a recording studio fighting and Roger Taylor threatening to smash the coffee machine, which got a big laugh from the audience. It's funnier on the screen than it sounds with me explaining it. And oh my goodness, that little boy from Jurassic Park is John Deacon.
Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah. Tim from Jurassic Park, Joe
Right.
Mazzello.
Oh, bloody hell. You can't tell in the bloody trailers. I'm gonna have to get out to see that because it does look entertaining.
And Brian May looks just like Brian May. My goodness.
Yeah. Did they dub it? Did they use Freddie's actual vocals, or does what's he called?
Rami Malek.
Yes, Rami Malek. Does he sing?
Do you know what? I'm not actually sure. I mean, if he is miming it, it's very well done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't quite sound like Freddie, so I'd guess that maybe either he had a vocal coach or they had a tribute singer to do it.
Oh, cool.
But I believe they used lots of sort of bootlegs and lost tapes and sort of stuff from the archives that we haven't really heard in the film. So I mean, that might just be songs or versions of songs that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. Different recordings, I suppose. Yeah. Oh well, that sounds really good. I'm glad. Yeah, because like I think I've heard a review that it's not that good. But I'm glad I've heard from someone whose opinion I trust says it's good, which means I'll probably enjoy it.
It was just entertaining, and
yeah,
I will. I'm not a very emotional person. I'm quite sort of stoic and Spock-like normally, but it did bring a tear to my eye once or twice.
Yeah.
Once or twice because of happy moments, and a couple of times because of sad moments. And yeah, it's just nice. It's a nice film. Kids were. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say there were kids in the audience. They were enjoying it. It doesn't really shy away too much from the sort of the adult side of Queen. There's no drug taking, but you do see that he had these wild parties. They just show them drinking instead. They don't shy away from his love life.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they don't show anything, but you know they don't hide it. So I mean, there are adult themes, but it's a very entertaining film, and it is suitable for sort of older children. So. Yeah, everyone had a good time. My parents liked it, and it's very rare for me to come out of a film and all four of us, me, my wife, and my parents, all to say, I really like that. My mum, normally, when I see a film that I enjoy, my mum will say, well, that was a load of bloody rubbish, wasn't it?
Good. I'm glad that's good then. I was going to say something then, but I can't remember what it was. There was a question.
Sorry.
How far past how far did he go past his death? Did they? Because the original it was Sacha Baron Cohen, wasn't he? He was supposed to be playing Freddie Mercury, and the remaining members of Queen wanted the film to show uh, be half of it after Freddie's death, so showing what Queen did. Oh, that's what I heard anyway. So I just wanted to know how far does the film show past his death,
Well,
if any?
the focal point of the film, it starts and it ends with the same scene, which is Queen playing at Live Aid.
Ah, right.
And I don't know if you're familiar with sort of the history of Queen, but when Live Aid came around, when Live Aid was announced, they'd kind of semi-split up.
Yeah.
Because Freddie had gone off to Germany to record a pair of solo albums that he'd been given loads of money for, and the other members of Queen weren't happy about it, and it was never official, but they had, for all intents and purposes, split up because Freddie had left, and they all acknowledged that, you know, without it being the full foursome, they weren't really anybody. And so the whole film kind of builds up to that moment where Freddie says, "I'm going off to do this studio album on my own, solo album. Sorry guys, but yeah, I need to do some more experimental musical stuff that Queen's just not doing." And he realizes, you know, because obviously we all know that after Live Aid, Queen went for another 6 years before Freddie died. So I mean, it's no surprise that he's going to get back with them. He's going to make friends with them, and he's going to perform at Live Aid. But it ends with almost the full set of their Live Aid performance, which was, it was 20 minutes in total, the performance, or about 18, 19 minutes performance. You think you get about a quarter of an hour of it in the film. The only songs they cut out actually are songs that we've already seen them sing earlier in the film. So I think it was "We Will Rock You" and one other one, I can't remember which.
Well, yeah, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that then. I actually forgot that it was out this week because I thought that was out in December. I think it might have been an original release date, but I don't know. Yeah, so if you, I don't know, is there anything else? I think I don't even know what I'm doing next. I think I've got to record Psycho 2 review tonight, and I've got to catch up with the reviews, the article reviews. But other than that, I think Halloween is coming to an end.
Yeah, I mean, I've already watched my film for tonight. I watched it earlier this afternoon, before Doctor Who, which was really good. I don't know if you've seen it, Troll Hunter.
I haven't. You mentioned it. I haven't seen it. No.
It's Norwegian. That was a lot of fun. It wasn't particularly scary, but it was good fun. Really good fun.
Cool. Oh well, I think that's probably the podcast then. We've done a podcast. I haven't done one for 4 weeks or whatever it is, and we've had a special guest on. Great.
That's been really good, just to talk about some of my favourite films. So thank you for having me.
Good. No, well, yeah, you've probably come back in at some point in the future. I'll have to sort out my computer because holding my phone up like this all the time is getting a bit. But yeah, I'll sort stuff out because I think I promised Craig months ago about setting up the 2 different microphones we've got, and it still hasn't happened. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on and talking to us, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again soon.
Well, that'd be good. And I know you were thinking about doing a Comic-Con if you're ever in Manchester. You know, I live just down the road from the convention centre, so
yeah. Well, I think we were there. We were seeing someone. I think it was the Foo Fighters, and you said, "I'm just down the road from you."
You know what? Because the summer was so hot, we were sat with our window open. We could hear it. We're that close to the stadium. Yeah, we're that close.
That's mental. Yeah. But yeah, I think when we can get everything sorted, like we're having an extension built, so it means that I'll have a room to actually podcast in properly. Where I go around places. I'm usually at Craig's house on his dining room table. But, once that all starts, we want to branch out and start doing like some Comic Cons. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So maybe I'll be persuaded to make my Robin of Sherwood costume again.
Brilliant. Aye. All right then. Oh, thank you very much for coming on. I don't know how to end.
Well, thank you for having me. I'll end by reminding everybody to back Film Stories magazine on Kickstarter, please, so that you can read my article about music's songs in films. It'll be okay. The rest of the magazine will be awesome.
And we've got worldgeeklynews.com, which is a fairly new website. It is new. I don't know why I'm saying fairly. We've got a lot of talented writers on there who just are passionate about what they do, and I think that's what I like about it is that they're all from different places and they all have different interests, and they're just really passionate about everything. So it's good.
And it gives me writing practice, and I get to talk about the stuff that normally people don't let me talk to them about, which is nice.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So okay. I don't know how to stop recording this. What do? Do you just press the button?
I guess so.
I hope it's saved. Recording now. Is that right?
Okay. It says you are recording the call at the top left.
Yes. Awesome. All right. I've never done this with over Skype or anything, so it's going to be very nervous. I'll be nervous. I don't know.
It'll be fine.
Right.
We did Christmas over Skype with my brother's girlfriend once. We all sat in a circle opening our presents with her on the TV in the corner.
Yeah, I think no, there is a picture of my brother when he wasn't with us at Christmas. He was on a pad, and we put a coat round him to pretend he was there. Right, I'll do the usual introduction because it's been weeks since I've done this podcast, and it's getting to me. Have you got any films that you're going to talk about?
I've got a list. Where's the camera? There. Yeah, well, I thought I'll start with these, and because there's some that I really love, and then if we go into talking about other ones, fine. But yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I've not seen it.
Well, I've not seen one of yours, so I'll try not to spoil it. Ghostwatch, a double bill of The Lost Boys / Fright Night.
Ghostwatch, nice.
Halloween 3.
I haven't seen that either.
You've not seen it? That's awesome as well. And The Witch.
All right, yeah, no, I haven't seen that. The Mrs. Movie Geek has seen that. Oh, Marina, and she didn't like it. Anyway, we'll get onto it. Okay, I'll start because I'll have to edit all this. How do I usually start it? This is what I do. I'm umming and ahhing all the time. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Man About a Movie. Messed it up already.
So let's just not look at the camera for a minute.
This is what we do all the time. We just mess up. It's just like cobbled together rubbish. Okay. Let me write down the name of the podcast. Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Man About a Dog Movie Podcast.